Welcome back to Exercise Science. Today we're going to be looking again in the Anatomy and Physiology unit, and within that unit we're going to be focusing on the hand. The hand. Many bones make up the hand. There's a total of 27 individual bones. 8 of those bones are referred to as carpals, and those are the ones we're going to focus on here initially. And this 8 right here are the carpals. The first one we're going to look at is called the scaphoid, and as you see by the labels, scaphoid is located here, close to the wrist. Scaphoid is followed by the lunate. The lunate is followed by the triquetrum, and the triquetrum is followed by this one that you can just see peeking around the corner here, called the pisiform. Now these 4 bones form a horizontal line across the proximal part of the wrist. The following 4 bones, trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate, form a second line across. So if we take a look at those 8 bones as we've discussed, the first 4 form a line here going across the top of the wrist. The second 4 form a line right here. And if you notice, both of these rows of 4 begin on the thumb side. So the easiest way to memorize these 8 bones is to take the first letter of each bone, S, L, T, P for the first 4, and then T, T, C, H for the second 4, and make a saying or an acronym that goes with those letters, something that will be easy to remember, something that will allow you to associate the words you're remembering with the names of the bones. That tends to be the easiest way, I feel, to memorize the names of the carpals of the wrist. They look very similar. They're all small, irregular bones, so identifying them by look is quite difficult. If you organize them in your head and organize them with your acronym, you'll find that should be a successful way. Metacarpal bones. The metacarpals you see here are these 5 pink bones on your screen, and these 5 pink bones essentially form what you see as the palm of your hand. The phalanges you see here are identified in 3 separate colors. We have proximal phalanges, 5 of those. We have distal phalanges, 5 of those, again 1 on each digit. And then we have 4 middle phalanges, as you see here, and these exist only on the fingers. Each finger is comprised of 3 phalanges, and the thumb is comprised of only 2 phalanges. 3 for each finger, 2 for the thumb. Now, features that we're going to look at, we have the styloid process, which is part of the ulna, and we have the styloid process, which is part of the radius. Those 2 features you'll see more clearly on this diagram. Here is a view of the forearm and the hand, and the styloid process is the bump on the wrist that you can quite clearly feel on your own wrist. If you want to take a second and palpate, you'll feel a bump on the inside and a bump on the outside. If you're standing in the anatomical position, which means you're standing with your palms facing forward, the radius is always the bone on the outside. The ulna is the bone on the inside, and each bone has its corresponding styloid process. Now, before we go back to look at the actual hand, we're going to take a look at the way the forearm rotates along an axis, and that is possible because of the way the 2 bones of the forearm interact and cross over each other during the actions of supination and pronation. If we look at the act of supination, which is the palms up position, which again is the anatomical position, the radius is always on the outside, and the radius down at the hand always attaches to the wrist on the thumb side. Now, as we rotate our palms over into a pronation position where our palms are facing down, the joint at the elbow remains consistent, the radius being on the outside, the ulna being on the inside. But as we go down towards the hand now, you'll see that the radius is still on the thumb side position. So at the wrist, the radius and ulna roll over each other. At the elbow, they remain the same. Back to our features. We only have 2 features left to look at on the hand. The first one is the interphalangeal joint, or joints, and those are commonly referred to as IEP joints. And any IP joint on the hand is a joint between two phalanges. So each finger has two IP joints, as you see indicated here, and the thumb has one IP joint. And that is because, again, there are three phalanges of the finger, a joint between each phalange, and there are two phalanges on the thumb, a joint between each one. The next joint that we're going to look at is the metacarpal phalangeal joints, and this is any joint between a metacarpal and a phalange. And we have 5 of those, and if you make a fist with your hand, you'll see those 5 joints very, very clearly. They protrude on the back of the hand, and they're very distinct. So those are your metacarpal phalangeal joints. You can see all of that information on page 35. So take a look in your coloring books on 35, color in what you need to, come up with an acronym that will allow you to associate the 8 bones, the 8 carpal bones, with the proper names, and you'll be tested on all of that tomorrow. Have a good day.